Coach. We'll get started here with Rob and then Ed.
Hey, Dave. What happened on the breakdown that led to the blocked punt? And then also what happened on the punter throwing the first down pass?
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, I didn't have our players prepared well enough to play the game. Certainly wasn't my best day out there. I'm disappointed in the results. Obviously, I expect better. On the block punt, obviously, we allowed a free rusher in the A gap. We can't do that. I think there's a number of guys who could have helped out on the play. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but like I said, at the end of the day, obviously they weren't prepared to handle it, and we didn't handle it, and we got to be better than that.
Go ahead, Ed, and then Les.
Yeah, hi, Dave. It seemed, the kickoff return team, they seemed to really challenge you in that area. Kicked it to Boston, I think, 5 times, unable to really get much beyond the 20. I mean, what needs to be better in that phase of the game?
I thought, we had one return that I was disappointed in. We kind of gave a fair catch signal. We were a little bit indecisive on whether we were going to come out or not, and then we ended up coming out late, and that was the real negative play on that. I thought the other returns, we were out the 22 or the 27 on most of those. I think I felt fine about that. They had kind of a little stack look on the backside that we didn't handle well enough. But I didn't think that was devastating in the game. Obviously, I'm more disappointed on the block punt and the fake punt.
Go ahead, Les, and then Mike.
Hey, Dave. So on the block punt, that's how Cam got hurt, how he got concussed, I guess. How did you guys find out about, that he was not in good health, and what happened on the sideline where you finally ended up using Ertz for the extra point snap?
Yeah, no. I mean, how it goes down for me is obviously that's all handled by the medical staff, and then I just get notified anytime a player goes out, whether it's a concussion or whatever, ankle, or he's cramping up. I usually get 2 things. I get he's either down for now, or I get he's out for the rest of the game. Either way, for us, the bottom line is as soon as we get that information, I mean, the first thing you think about is what's the next team that's up that could be affected. I mean, if you're on defense, obviously that punt return group or the field goal block group, and getting those guys ready. And then after you get that group ready, then you're looking at the next groups that aren't quite as immediate. But yeah, for us, obviously, then our contingency plans went in place, and Jake became the punter. I thought Jake did a really good job of handling that situation in the game. I mean, he's a stud for how he handled it. He punted the ball well. I thought the guys covered well for him, and everybody kind of stepped up their game down the stretch there for us against a good returner. And then obviously that put Zach. I mean, I don't know. Really, there's a lot of moving parts. Richard Rodgers went out of the game early on. Richard was a wing, so then Zach on field goal. So then Zach had to go in and become the wing on field goal. And then when Zach became the holder, then we had to get Toth in as a wing on field goal and move Zach to the holder. So there's a lot of moving parts anytime that stuff goes down. I thought those guys handled it well. Obviously, we practice that stuff. We practice all those situations at least once a week. Those guys get a handful of reps in one way or another. And I thought for the most part those guys did a good job. Obviously, the snap wasn't good enough on the extra point attempt there.
Has Jake ever punted before in a game? Jake Elliott?
I don't know. Not in the National Football League. Not for us. I mean, obviously, like I said, we practice it. He hits a few balls each week. But yeah, like I said, I mean, he's just great at all that stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of confidence and a lot of poise, and nothing really seems to bother him a whole lot, which is really why he's a good kicker too. The moment doesn't really change who he is. And like I said, I thought he went out there. I mean, he responded really well. I mean, he had good operation time. He had good hang time with the distance combination. So he did a really nice job for us.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike Kay, and then Nick Fiero.
You brought up the snap. I can't remember the last time Rick had a poor snap. Was it just a circumstance where it rains, it pours? There's so much new personnel, or what do you think happened there?
Yeah, I would say at the end of the day, I wouldn't make any excuses for any of that stuff. I mean, the bottom line is we're all professionals. We got to be able to go out there and execute our job. I mean, like you said, Rick's been really good for us. He's been a really good player for us this whole time here. He has not had a bad snap since he's been here, not at least a snap that's been unmanageable. And he put Zach in a really tough spot. At the end of the day, when somebody new comes in like that, we all got to step up our game and be a little bit better and help make their job easier. And we kind of made their job a little bit harder right there. But, you know, like I said, Rick's been a great player for us. I have a lot of confidence in him. Just didn't have his best snap right there at really an unfortunate time. And unfortunately, that's kind of the way that game went for us on special teams. And like I say, I mean, I take full responsibility for that. Obviously, I didn't have them prepared well enough.
Nick and then John.
Yeah, I was actually want to ask you that, but just to follow up on that answer, you know, the one bad snap that Ricky has is the first time he's going to he's aiming it at a backup holder. Is that just a coincidence? And the second part is who's Zach Ertz's backup as holder?
Yeah, well, I would say it would be easy or it'd be convenient to come up with an excuse. I think we can all do that in any area at any time. We're definitely not going to approach the game that way. I don't think that's the way we should approach our lives. We're competitive players. We're professionals. We get paid to get a job done. At the end of the day, it's our job to get it done. And that's really who we want to be or what we want to be known for. In terms of, we practice the situation, so it's not like he's never practiced with Zach back there. And then I would say we have contingency plans behind Zach, and I'm not going to get into those, but we do have a plan, and we've worked that also throughout the year. Obviously, it's changed because at one point we didn't even have Zach, right? He was on IR and down and out, so we had a plan in place for those weeks also.
John and then Martin.
Hey, Dave. Obviously, you're not going to go into it as you just said, but curious how you develop these contingency plans. And obviously, the kicker's going to be backup for the punter and vice versa. But I noticed Nate Gary before he got hurt was long snapping a little bit, and Zach is the holder. How do you kind of come to that point when you make those decisions?
You look at the background of these guys' careers, and the first thing you find out is have any of these guys done this at any point in their career, whether it be in college or high school. And then the next step is just watching them do it here, and then ultimately our decision is pretty simple. I mean, you're just trying to find the best guy for the job, and that's really it. I mean, we're going to put the next best player in to get the job done on Sunday afternoon for us.
Hey, Dave. There are like some teams around the league that'll have like a kicker or a punter on the practice squad, just in case obviously something happens. I mean, would that be something you would be in favor of as far as, just in case something happens to either Jake or Cam like happens on Sunday?
Yeah, no, I would say that question is probably better for Coach Peterson or Howie. But I've always felt good about our contingency plans going into the game. And even if a guy is like on the practice squad, obviously that wouldn't have helped us in that game because he wouldn't have been active going into it. That would maybe help you after the game if a player were still out or not going to be able to perform in the next one. But I feel good about the contingency plans that we have in place and moving forward. And then, whether or not they decide to do that would be a better question for them.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, Dave, how do you think the special teams has performed this season overall?
Yeah, I would say, for us personally, anytime you win 4 games and you're going into the 15th game of the year, it would be hard to say that we played well enough, probably really in any area. Obviously, I'm really critical about our area. That's all I have to worry about. We haven't done a good enough job. We've won 4 games. So at the end of the day, we need to be better.
Jeff and then Bo.
Dave, good follow up on their fake. Is that something that they had showed on film before? And when did you realize that it was on?
Yeah, I mean, this coach has run some fakes like that in the past. We were obviously aware, or I was certainly aware. It was the fourth quarter, really the beginning of the fourth quarter. It was a tie game. It's 4th and 2, I think, on like the 33-yard line right there. I was cognizant of it being a potential fake situation, which is why we kept the defense out there on the field. And then I would just say it's probably easiest to explain. At the end of the day, I didn't put him in a good enough position. That's really all there is to it. I mean, you have some choices when you call a defense, like that situation there. That particular call was skewed a little bit more heavy to stopping the run, being a 3rd or 4th and 2 situation there. And they ended up coming out and throwing the ball, and it put the guys in coverage in a challenging position.
Bo, and then Zach, and Dave, I mean.
Hey, Coach, when Jake comes in and punts that well, there's sort of an obvious question as to whether it's a possibility moving forward that he could do both and you could save a roster spot. Is that the kind of thing that you would ever consider?
Yeah, well, I say he did a great job. Now, I think if you compare that to the rest of the league and the punters in this league, it's not quite the same, I don't think. But I think it's really hard for anybody to be the best or one of the 32 best in the world at both jobs, which is probably why you really haven't seen anybody do that in a long time.
We'll wrap it up here with Dave and then Les.
Hey, Dave, you mentioned that it wasn't your best game as a coach. How do you evaluate yourself in a game like that when there are so many variables and injuries and those sort of things?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, for me, it's just about, bottom line, it's just about performance. And you can't make an excuse for injuries or, all the things that happen in the course of a game. I don't think if you're any good, you can do that. I've always said that we have a high standard. I personally have a really high standard for myself. Some days I've lived up to that. Usually, I don't think I've ever played a perfect game or called a perfect game or prepared the guys perfectly for any game that I've been a part of. You're always trying to get better as a coach and improve. Unfortunately, sometimes, when you lose a game like that and you make some negative plays, obviously you learn some lessons the hard way. It's a really tough business. I love it. I love the challenges of it. And the bottom line is, I just got to find a way to do a little bit better and get better and continue to grow just like every player does also.
One more thing. Yeah, I'm sorry. One more thing, Dave, that I really wanted to get to. I respect you not wanting to point any fingers on the block punt, but just to try to figure out what happened in general. If they overload the middle, does the protector have to pick that guy up that comes through? Is he, or what is he looking for there?
Yeah, no, I get what you're getting at, Les. I appreciate it. The bottom line is really it wasn't even an overloaded look. They had our left gunner doubled on the outside, so they really only had 7 guys in the box. We had 8 guys to protect it. And the bottom line is we didn't execute well enough there. And anytime there's an execution problem, I would say personally for me, then I would say that I obviously didn't do a good enough job of coaching them to get it done there. So I'm not going to depart from that narrative. I'm fine with that. I can accept it. Like I said, I've had some good days. I've had some bad days. That wasn't one of my better days right there. We didn't have those guys ready to go, and I need to do a better job.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.